I remember a record came out, and it was called Super Rat.
That's what I was
by
going to ask you
Motorcycle
about.
Mike.
Yeah.
And then we was like, oh shit, Mickey Mo, Hold This Records. And we like, oh shit, like somebody from Oakland put a record out, like a record. And we was like super happy about that shit. Then another dude named Steve Walker put out a record called Tally Ho, some shit. These are records where they like rapping with the New York voice, and it's a whole New York vibe, and it's just like it was nothing really much to go on, like what the based on. Even if you listen to some of my early raps, I'm like, I'm rapping with a voice like this. Or some of them, like trying to do what you think you're supposed to do. But just as far as like being a rapper who's at a party, rocking a crowd, on the turntables, on the microphone, going to your school, winning talent shows, and going around selling people cassettes, there was nobody doing what me and Freddie B did. Nobody anywhere doing it when we did it. I mentioned those two records because somebody put out these, what you would have to call novelty records, because it was, each artist was a one-off. And I even went over there where they put the record out of Hold This Records. I went and made friends with Mickey Mo's kids, and he had the label. Mickey Mo would do a little research. He was the one who was at war with Felix Mitchell when it was the family against the mob. I don't want to tell you the whole story, but go figure it out. And we was like Mickey Mo. He drove around the town in Rolls Royces and shit. We like, sign me, man, put me on the label. Never happened, but at the same time, it was motivation. And when I talked to Freddie B, we like, man, we could do that shit. We can go get on Greyhound right now, just go to New York and just walk up to the motherfucking address on this label right here and just go get, like, we used to talk shit like that. But at the same time, we're in Oakland. About the only chance you got to do in any of that shit is do it yourself. And do it yourself was just, it just kept, just, it's not going to happen if you don't do it yourself.
Well, that's the other reason I say there just wouldn't be any Bay Area rap without you, because that's a foundation of what we do out here. Somebody makes their beats, writes their raps, records it at the house. Sometimes a neighborhood baller puts some money up, sometimes not. And the wiggle of just going around slanging tapes, slanging CDs, slanging records, that out the trunk, that evolved into the independent hustle that we know today. But there's been so many rap cats that took that same formula of like, I'm finna do this rap shit and just go around high schools, parks, neighborhoods, bus lines, slanging tapes and actually turning that into a career.
The first two situations I had to make records were literally funded by drug money. 75 Girls and then Dangerous Music. And when I did 75 Girls, we never signed any agreements, anything. Just started making music. It was just whatever. I was just a little homie just learning the game. So glad I never signed nothing, because it could have been a problem later on, But Dean Hodges used to tell me. He used to let me and his brother, cousin, ride with him and give you the game. Like, I'm about to go over here. This guy right here, he likes to get the cassette tapes and the wax on consignment. This other guy over here, he's going to pay you cash right off the rip. This guy over here, you can go manufacture hundreds and thousands, whatever, however you get, and drop it off to this, my man Walt over here at City Hall. He's going to send them out to a bunch of stores that we ain't got to go to. It was just, once you get that, pull back up over here, pick your money up. I tell you where to go to get it manufactured. This is where you got to go to get it finalized. We were recording at Different Fur, which is probably the best studio in the Bay at the time.
Here in the Mission
in
District.
San Francisco, and it's still there. Matter of fact, I went over there not too long ago and was like, "This motherfucking Different Fur." Like it's to me, I look back at all that shit like college. So I learned all this shit from 75 Girls, and then me and Dean's little brother and his cousin decide, well, Dean ain't really, he getting all this money doing other shit. He ain't really fucking with us like that. He's kind of was losing interest in 75 Girls. That's how we started Dangerous Music. We took his formula and started our shit. So I used to go around with a one sheet, and it was handwritten, and I was meeting with drug dealers that I knew. I knew a lot of drug dealers, a lot of rich ones. And I was like, look, I could, because I had the formula from what I did with 75 Girls. I was like, I could flip $2,000 just by pressing up some singles and taking the profit and running that shit back. I could do like this if I had $5,000. If you gave me $10,000, I could do the same thing a lot faster. And I had like about 4 options. And I ran into some really good friends of mine who had a lot of money, and it just was too much money over there for them to think about, why would I waste all this time with you? It take me all this time to get a fucking $100,000. I'm gonna get $100,000 in the next 3 days.
Right.
Like, it wasn't really getting it. So I went to some really famous drug dealers in East Oakland, West Oakland, maybe even like 1 or 2 in the city. Maybe so. I can't remember who all we shopped it with, but it was definitely some big boys that we knew, and they had it. And then the guy who I ended up starting Dangerous Music with was Ted Bohannon. And one of my homies, Bird, his name is Bird. Bird was running around with Ted's crew. I knew all these people, but Bird was running with him. And he was like, man, I'll get you a meeting with Ted. Ted might want to do it. So we meet with Ted. And from what I heard after the meeting, which the meeting was probably just leaning up against a car on 99th and Plymouth, but that was the meeting. And they said Ted was like, nah, man, I ain't trying to get off into that shit. And one of the things that was making people not want to do business with me is that we used to be in the streets at a young age. I was like a wild motherfucker. And we used to smoke the crushed up rocks in the weed. They called them Grimmies. And people thought, was like, oh, he's smoking Grimmies or something. He probably like a dope fiend. But I never smoked no pipes, and I never was like, we smoke a Grimmy and leave it at that. We wasn't like smoking them motherfuckers eight in a row. Like, we just smoked one Grimmy, be at a party somewhere, and that was that. You remember Grimmy's P.O.? So I think I had heard this too. Like when I left Ted, and it was like, oh man, I already be getting high, and they ain't want to invest in me. So I heard that was a thing. But then Ted had a homie named Ollie. We call him Superside. And Bird told me, said, Ted was like, no, I don't want to do it. And then Ollie started yelling at him, like, you fucking crazy. That's fucking too short. Fucking all that fucking shit. And he was like, all right, fuck it. And he was going to do the $10,000 investment. So it started going really good. We started making a lot of money really fast. I feel like if I had to put a number on it, we never put a number on it, I would say Ted probably spent, and I'm including the way we moved around. He had a fleet of cars. We used to pull out half his cars every day.
That's his Cadillac on the
That's
album
his
cover,
Cadillac on that day, on that cover. I bought it from him.
Okay.
That's his car that day. And none of that jewelry is mine either on that day.
Right.
That's everybody's jewelry. That's another story too. But yeah, I'd say Ted probably spent about $100,000. He's probably spent about $100,000 out of the kindness of his heart that he believed in the movement, because he saw how when we put out the Freaky Tales single, it made a lot of money really fast. And he was just all in, man. So I say all that to say E40 was doing it his own way. He had an uncle named Charles who knew the game, and him and his brothers and Be Legit, they was getting money. However they was getting money, and they was doing it the same way we were doing it, based on the same philosophy. Get you some hood money and invest in yourself. So after that, which is what a lot of people in the Bay don't understand, it's a lot of people that went to 40 and said, how did y'all do that? The early Click albums. It's a lot of people that came to me and said, how did you do that shit? And I'm like, well, and mostly like the people that used to come to me wasn't rappers. The people that came to me was like drug dealers that had money, and they wanted to know, how did you get to that? Like, I'm just giving them the numbers. So it started being a thing where I felt like I had to find a drug dealer to finance my album. Drug dealers started trying to find a rapper to finance. And so you're a rapper, you're looking for your match. It was like, it's a list of drug dealers from the 80s and early 90s that started labels.
Well, in the hood, where else are you going to find that type of startup capital?
It's a bank.
Right? Yeah.
It's a hood bank.
Yeah.
Like, it goes way the fuck back. But it started anew because way back when, gangsters, loan sharks would loan you money and break your leg when you didn't pay it back.
Well, yeah, and the mafia was heavy in the entertainment business too.
Yeah, all the way through. And then fucking but this was different.
Right.
This was crack cocaine.
Right.
And you even have a very well documented piece of work that gives you this story I'm telling in a national way. It's called Planet Rock. And VH1 put it out. It was a 4-part series. And it literally, when you get to Miami and Houston and New York, Russell Simmons, just
Right.
everywhere, it's the same fucking story.
Right.
There was no bank that was going to finance hip-hop.
Right.
So the streets financed hip-hop, period. And the documentary is about the relationship between crack cocaine and hip-hop.
Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay. Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay.